Alrighty. Apparently, New York has lost their ever-loving minds, or that election was rigged as fuck. Now you say, well, Bon, how you say that? Because apparently nobody knows history. Hello, I'm a real historian. Let's harken back. Okay, just in New York alone. Let's start right with New York alone. All right, Muslims throw airplanes into buildings. The vast majority of those individuals were from Saudi Arabia. They were Saudi Arabia citizens, and the ones that weren't were from countries loyal to Saudi Arabia. So the Muslims slammed planes into buildings in New York. All right. Then, to add insult to injury, they built a mosque right there at Ground Zero. Then, if that wasn't enough, they built a Muslim minaret on top of Freedom Tower, disguised as an antenna. dumb Americans, I tell you. And now y'all want to put Muslim in as mayor of New York City? Really? You guys don't learn from history, do you? Apparently you don't. Apparently you don't. Let me tell you a little history lesson, New York. Since apparently you're about to find out the hard way, but I'm going to tell you the easy way. And then you can find out the hard way yourself. No wonder I got the hell out of there. Now I see why. But anyway, let me tell you a little story about a little country called Lebanon. All right, Lebanon is a little tiny country to the north of Israel. And it was kind of stuck there. And I think it was even originally Israeli land. But for whatever reason, they allowed a group of Christians, Orthodox Christians, to have it. Because, they maintain that the Middle East is also a holy site for Christians, which is true. That's true. So, they let them have that land, and they formed a Christian nation out of it. Now, in typical Christian fashion, they decided to be extremely stupid and let Muslims into their government and into their military. Well, gee, Bon, what happened when they did that? Well, I'll tell you what happened when they did that. When they did that, the Muslims decided to start slaughtering Christians in the streets. And we know this because Bridget Gabriel survived it. Her parents, unfortunately, did not. And Bridget Gabriel goes touring all over the United States, telling everybody that'll listen her story of how she survived in the sewers to get away from them people and to escape. Or she'd be dead too. But yeah, the Muslims got control. They just started slaughtering Christians. That's a fact. That's not Von Helton's opinion. That's a fact. Now you say, well, Von, that's just one isolated incident. Okay, fine. Let's fast forward a little bit. Milosevic comes on TV and says, America, we need your help. The Muslims that we stupidly allowed in our government and our military have taken over and are threatening to burn Kosovo to the ground. Unfortunately for Milosevic, our president was Bill Clinton. And so Bill Clinton sends America over there, and America bombs the Serbian Christians and not the Kosovo Muslims. I'm not even kidding. After Milosevic got on TV and told him, yeah, the Muslims are threatening to burn Kosovo to the ground, we need your help, Bill Clinton goes over there and bombs the Christians instead of the Muslims. And what did the Muslims do in reply? Oh, yeah, they burned Kosovo to the ground. That's a fact, Jack. It's not Von Helton's opinion. And so now here New York has stupidly allowed Muslims to get in control of their major cities. And you don't think there's going to be something bad happen? Well, then you're an idiot, because I'm a historian, a real one. And every time the Muslims were allowed in control of the government and the military, bad shit happened. Every single time. Now you say, well, Von, why is that? Because Muslims, when they come over here, they're over here because they're here to commit jihad. That's in their holy book, the Quran. And you say, well, Von, why would they do that? They would do that because, they're doing what their Prophet Muhammad told them to do. All Muslims, folks, in the Quran are called to jihad. Every Muslim. Every single Muslim. There is no such thing as a civilian Muslim. You got to get that in your head, because there ain't. There's no such thing. All Muslims follow the Quran. All Muslims follow the Prophet Muhammad. And the Prophet Muhammad said it is the duty of every Muslim to wage jihad against the infidel. Guess who you are? You're the infidel. All right, America is an infidel country. In fact, the Muslims call America the Great Satan. Did you know that? It's true. Google it. I dare you. Muslims call America the Great Satan. So, well, wait a minute, Vaughn. If America's the Great Satan, why in the fuck would any Muslim be here? Good point. Because they're not here to be your friend. They're here to wage jihad. Now, jihad does not always mean putting on a vest full of bombs and blowing your ass up. It could also mean subterfuge. It could also mean, mishandling of legal documents. It could be anything. It could be just lying to your face. They're allowed to lie. All Muslims are allowed to lie to non-Muslims. It's called al-taqiyya. You might want to look that up. T-A-Q-U-E-E-A or something like that. Anyways, al-taqiyya. And they're allowed to lie to your face. They're allowed to rape non-Muslim women. And you need to know this information because it looks like New York's going to fall. New Jersey has a governor that's a Muslim. Did you all know that? Yeah. And ironically, she was appointed by Trump. Trump apparently has never read the Quran. Oops. Yeah, you really ought to read the Quran, President Trump. You really need to read the Quran. You really need to read what these people believe and what they think. Because I don't know one Muslim that doesn't follow the Quran and doesn't follow the Prophet Muhammad. I don't know not one Muslim. You know why? Because if they don't, they're ex-Muslims and they're to be put to death. Oh, Vaughn, that can't be true. Yeah, actually it is. If you leave Islam, the penalty is death. It absolutely is. Why do you think all these ex-Muslims are in hiding? They're in hiding because if you leave Islam, you're to be killed. Well, Vaughn, isn't cults the ones that do shit like that? Yeah, it is. Glad you caught that. Glad you caught that shit. But yeah, so apparently New York is going to have to learn the hard way, just like London is learning the hard way. And so now New York's going to learn the hard way. And eventually, it's going to be just like Kosovo and Lebanon. Watch and see. Watch and see. It'll eventually. Oh, Boban, that was years and years ago, and they've changed. No, they ain't, because their holy book ain't changed. Now, having said that, is there a group of people wanting to reform Islam? Yes, there is. There is a group of people wanting to reform Islam, but I haven't heard from them in years, so they were probably all put to death. Hello? They were probably all put to death. So, now you know, and knowing is half the battle. But let's be abundantly clear. This Muslim that they're putting in as the mayor of New York City, he's supposedly a flaming communist, too. I don't know how the hell you can be a communist and a Muslim at the same time, because the first tenet of communism is that there is no God. Of course, now, having said that, the Venezuelans are communists, and they believe in Christianity. Or Catholicism. And it's like, how can that be? The first tenet of communism is that there is no God. How can you be a Catholic and be communist? It doesn't fucking make sense to me. But they are. They absolutely are. It's crazy. Makes no damn sense, but whatever. But anyway, as a real historian, I thought I'd weigh in on the fact that the Muslim won in New York City. And it behooves everyone to know your history, folks. Because I'm sure Bridget Gabrielle did not anticipate her parents being slaughtered in the streets. I'm pretty sure of that. I'm pretty sure she wasn't expecting that to happen. But it did. And like I said, Bridget Gabrielle goes all over the United States, telling everybody her story and how she survived. I guess she crawled in the sewers. That's the only thing I can figure. But yeah, man. Folks, when we don't learn from history, what happens? We're doomed to repeat it. But yeah, even right now, you can Google the Freedom Tower in New York, And you can look up there at their antenna, and it's a Muslim minaret. That's exactly what it is. It's a Muslim minaret on top of Freedom Tower. And then they build a mosque. Now you say, well, Bob, why did they build a mosque at Ground Zero? A mosque is not a church, folks. You need to understand that. Well, of course it's a church. No, it ain't. Didn't you see all them Muslims praying in the streets? Why do you think they're praying in the street? Because a mosque is not a church. If you think a mosque is not a church, then you shouldn't even be playing this game. All right, a mosque is a celebration of victory over the infidel. That's why they wanted to build a mosque at Ground Zero so damn bad. And I kept telling them dunderheads, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. You don't understand. You have not studied Islam like I have. And they let them do it any damn way. A mosque is victory over the infidel. Well, who's the infidel? You are, dummy. You are. That was an attack. That was a direct attack on the United States. 9/11 was a direct attack on the United States by Saudi Arabia and rogue elements of our government. And I told you all that over and over and over and over and over again. And it just went zoom right in one ear and right out the other. But yeah, you never let the Muslims build a mosque in your city, ever. And the governor of Texas, he stopped that shit real quick because they was going to build one. They was going to build a mega mosque in I believe it was Austin, Texas. They were going to build an entire community with a big massive Muslim mosque. And the governor was clued in on what the Quran says about that shit, and he stopped that dead in its tracks. Because a mosque is not a church, folks. It is victory over the infidel. When Muslims infiltrated Spain and went a third of the way up Spain and were finally stopped by the Spaniards, what did they do? They stopped, dropped, and built a mosque. When the Muslims invaded Europe, and tried to anyway, and were stopped by Vlad Tepes Dracul, what did they do? They stopped, dropped, and built a mosque. Victory over the infidel. That's what a mosque is. It is not a church. That's why you see all the Muslims out praying in the damn streets, because it's not a church. Because if it was, they'd be praying in the mosque, right? Now, they do pray in the mosque. That's true. Some do pray in the mosque, but that's not what the mosque's purpose is. The purpose of the mosque is victory over the infidel. Never forget that shit. It's important. And there may be a quiz later, now that you got a Muslim in charge of your major city. Bad idea, guys. It pays to be a historian. It pays to know the history. Lebanon is no longer a Christian nation. Libya is no longer a pagan nation. Egypt is no longer a pagan nation. In fact, none of those nations in North Africa are no longer pagan. Why? Because the Ottoman Empire, the Muslims, came in and slaughtered them all. And even the Quran admits that some of them weren't even at war with them. They admit it because they don't care. They don't give a shit. Okay? They don't give a shit. But even the Quran admitted that some of them countries weren't even at war with them. It's true. So it behooves one to understand what the hell you're dealing with, because a lot of people don't. They don't have a clue, man. Don't have a damn clue. And that's unfortunate. Anyways, just thought I'd weigh in on the election and how it absolutely was rigged. There is no question in my mind. He gets more votes than any other candidate combined. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Anyways, have a good one.